Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry we are a few minutes late, a little bit tardy, but we're here. And just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight. Um, this conversation really will be focused in on have you checked in lately? And that checking in means have you checked in lately with your sponsor or your mentor. And if you have not, and you're feeling a little unsure of yourself and you're feeling like a little untethered and you want some kind of way to stay resilient and grounded and rooted, then you might see this as a conversation for you. If this is your first time here, welcome. Feel free to click the like button. If you are returning, I'm so glad that you are here and you are returning. And I am just really excited to have my sister friend, my soror, and just a good overall person. Sister Erika Irish Brown will be with us. And we're going to talk a little bit about something that I don't really have a lot of familiarity with. I don't know a lot about sponsorship, but I know a ton about mentorship. So we will talk about how having either a sponsor or a mentor can help you in the midst of all this crazy. Because we are friends, we're probably going to veer off topic. So just bear with us and come along for the ride. I am going to bring Erica in. So let me see. Hey. Here she is. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I need you to do the official introduce yourself and, all that good stuff.
So I'm Erika Irish Brown, and I'm a mom of three. I live in Teaneck, New Jersey, and in my role at my company, I lead all of talent management as well as engagement.
Wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I asked you if you had something to drink. Today I am actually doing the thing that I started in January when we were doing this dry January. Um, I'm having a free, can you see this? Free red blend. It's de-alcoholized. I know people are like, oh, boo. But when you have a little cold and you still want to pretend that you're engaging, you could have this. It's not bad. It does have a cherry smell. It is a red blend, so there were some good grapes and there was alcohol in it at once, and then they pulled it out. So if you are not here joining us with something, get a glass, get some water, and just be up for the conversation, okay? All right. I wanted to start off with what are you doing for yourself to kind of relax yourself and bring your own stress down during these uncertain times? I know that being in education is crazy right now. Being in corporate has to be just that much amped up. And so, what are you doing to take care of yourself? How are you centering yourself? What's that look like? And I know you, so I already know
So
what you're doing.
I go to the gym. So yeah, my big stress reliever, the 1 hour a day that I take for myself to clear my mind, to focus on me. I believe in the connection between physical and mental health. It's going to the gym.
Let's go into the gym. You're a big gym person.
Yes, I am. You were supposed to be there with me.
I know. I know. Listen, you see my Peloton in the back? It's still getting work. Not as much work as OTF was getting, but it is still getting work.
Yeah,
So yes, I
yeah.
I
Orange
get that.
Theory Fitness. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
that is it. Do you think, or are you noticing from other women of color who are also execs, are they feeling more pressure right now? Um, can you tell? Is there conversation amongst you all, or what's that like?
Yeah, the stress levels are high. And I think that especially women of color, we take on significant roles in the home and with our families. We also
Mm-hmm.
take on significant roles in our communities, in our places of worship. And then when you have a high powered corporate role as well, where you're often one of the few senior visible women of color. And
Mm-hmm.
when people are looking to you for leadership, for mentorship, for sponsorship, and and you have to be, if not you, then who, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure coming from all angles, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that so many of us were conditioned to be those super women, right? We can do it all,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and bring home the bacon fried up in a pan, right? And so I think, especially for women of color, with all the different people that are counting on us,
Mm-hmm.
um, and with all the different types of family structures that there are, and we fit into every single one, we are bearing the brunt of any and all stressful situations in the corporate world and in society, at that intersection between race and gender.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, there is a real issue with us trying to be super women and not taking a moment for ourselves. I'm fighting this cold because I was pushing myself hard for the past couple of weeks, and my body's like, that's enough. You don't want to listen. I'm put you down, and I feel like that is that's the conversation that I'm hearing from a ton of folks who are in just in any position. They are just pushing and doing what they have to do because that is what's required. And so that's a hard one. I know
Yeah.
for myself, I really wanted to have this conversation because I do know and lean in on my mentors a lot. I call them, I talk with them, they ground me when I'm feeling a little, on edge. I'm like, well, what do you think
Mhm.
about this? And so I go to them for counsel. And I wonder about folks who are in corporate. Who do they go to for counsel? How are you getting support? And what does it mean to have a sponsor? So I would love for you to just give some voice to, what does it mean to even, if you have a sponsor? I know that not a lot of people even have a sponsor,
Yeah.
but if you do.
Well, a lot of women don't have sponsors. A lot of people don't have sponsors. And
Mm.
then also, a lot of people have sponsors that they don't know exist, right? Because
Oh.
typically sponsors do their work when you're not in the room, right?
Mm.
So I love the way that one of my mentors, Carla Harris,
Yeah.
distinguished between mentors and sponsors.
Mm.
So, she would always say, a mentor would know the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Right.
Somebody that you really have to be very transparent with, seek the advice, the counsel. They can help you do your day to day role, build certain skill sets,
Mm-hmm.
etc., deal with certain situations. So you really have to be transparent and tell them
Right.
everything, you
Right.
know. But a sponsor knows the good, and the good, right? Those are people that are using their capital, their personal capital on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
They're the people that have to believe that um, that that it won't be a waste of capital, frankly, and they'll get the
Mm.
return on that investment when
Mm.
they're using their personal capital on your behalf. They're the ones that are in all the rooms behind the closed doors when people are talking about promotion,
Right.
performance promotion, compensation,
Mm.
who gets the great assignment, who gets the management role, and they're the ones that need to have all the information necessary to bang the table on your behalf and
Mm.
to speak in the room when you are not present to represent yourself. And they need to have the words to do that, and you have
Mm.
to arm them with that, which is why you go with the good, and the
The
good.
good. I love it. The good, the good, the good. That's powerful. That is a powerful one because that's the person that you absolutely want to be leaning into then, especially
Mm-hmm.
now if you can, because they may actually know a little bit more than you, right? They may
Mm-hmm.
have their ear to the ground in a different way, obviously. Um, and I definitely believe that when you are in a mentoring relationship, that there is some similarities if you're in a formal relationship like the sponsorship, or if you're informal. If you're in an informal, you don't know sometimes, or you've chosen the person but you don't know how they might be showing up for you. Like there's a difference, right? There might be a peer who's your informal mentor, so it's a little bit different. I see
Yeah,
that.
and very often a sponsor actually chooses you, right?
Oh.
So you have to be doing all the things
Uh-huh.
to us also attract the sponsorship that they want to offer.
Interesting. So you get chosen. Yeah. So in a mentoring program, depending, like in education, if you get a mentor, you don't always get to choose your mentor in the professional way. So if you are an aspiring principal or an aspiring school district leader, sometimes you are assigned by the state department a mentor. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's a match, sometimes it's not really a great match. But you with that person, they're trying to train you because you want to be a principal and they have been that, or you want to be assistant superintendent and they already have that role. And so it's different when you choose or are chosen than
Right.
if you someone assigns you a person. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, and you're the expert on mentoring, and there's two things that I say in the corporate world. When you do have an opportunity to participate or put together a mentoring program and to match people, a lot of people say, oh, the matches never work or whatever. First of all, I'd rather try,
right.
right? And I'd
Right.
rather have a match than none at all, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
some work out, some don't. But I think very often the mentor pairs that fail is when actually the mentee doesn't realize that it is their job to prepare to meet their mentor, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people just want to, they show up and they're like,
Yep.
mentor me, right?
Right. Tell me
Mentor
tell me what
me,
I need. Tell me what I
right?
need. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I'm
Versus
open.
bringing real life situations to them, sharing the good, bad, and
Yes.
the ugly with them, being prepared for those meetings, doing the research,
Yep.
so they're not asking questions that they could do by Google, get the answer by Googling the
Right.
person.
Right.
Um, it's a lot, like most relationships, like marriages, right? It takes work. And,
Oh.
any relationship takes work.
Yes.
And a lot of
Yes.
people expect these mentorships to work without that investment that you would have to put into any, deep
Right.
rooted, important relationship.
Right. Right. I think you're 100% right. And I think people forget that it is a reciprocal. Even if you are the mentee, you still have
Hmm.
something to offer. So show up with something to
Right,
offer, and
right.
don't see it as a one way. See it as a I'm getting, I'm giving, I'm getting, I'm
Hmm.
giving. If not, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
100%.
What are we doing? I see. I just want to bring this up. Carmen says an ideal sponsor is the person who speaks your name when you aren't there. I love that. That is so
Hmm.
true. Thank you, Carmen, for being here. Good to see you.
Nice hands.
Yes, 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 yes. So if someone feels like they have been somewhat disconnected or they haven't been in conversation with their sponsor or mentor, what would you say to them? Like, what should they do?
Yeah, I think most of us do not plan for our, I'll call them corporate relationships, whether or not it's a mentor, a sponsor, a
Uh huh.
coworker. We don't plan for the to maintain those relationships in the same way we plan a business strategy or
Right.
anything else. Right? So you need a strategy and a
Mm,
cadence and how you stay connected to people. You need to remember what are the areas of interest for somebody, or
right.
what are the things that you like to meet over, or even if it's that once a year dinner that you have,
Right.
whatever those things are, to keep you connected with people and keep you top of mind, and make people know that you're still part of their circle, that you're a resource to them, that
Right.
hopefully they're a resource to you. That takes time and investment. It doesn't happen automatically. And more importantly, the quality of those relationships are important over the quantity. So, I would rather have fewer, more well developed relationships than try to spread myself too thin and have a bunch of ancillary
Mm-hmm.
relationships and people that really are not invested in me, and I'm not necessarily invested in them. So,
Mm-hmm.
relationships are always the key to success. And again, you may have met lots of mentors and no sponsors, and and you may have sponsors and no mentors. And by the way, even when you think about your personal board of directors, right, it's not even just mentors and sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
You also, you need friends. You need people to give it to you straight that really
Mm.
know you. You need
Mm-hmm.
peers. You need, different partners. They may be peers across the org, but who helps you get your job done, whether or not
Right.
that's strategically,
Right.
operationally. Um, even your junior talent, right? If,
Right.
your junior talent supports you, if you don't have good support, if
Right.
you're not a leader they want to follow and, and make proud and create
Right.
something that both propels both careers, then that's a problem. So
Right.
overall, I would answer your question by saying, regardless of the relationship, maintaining relationships um, is very important. People do business with people they trust.
Mm-hmm.
And to trust somebody, typically you need to know them, and very often you even need to like them, honestly.
How
And
about that?
everybody doesn't have to be your friend. They don't have to be your best friend, but it helps when you have relationship and
Mm-hmm.
people want to do business with you, want to see you succeed,
Mm-hmm.
want to support you, willing to go the extra mile. you know
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they share that information, make sure they speak your name in the room when you're not
Right.
there, make sure
Right.
they share the credit with you as part of the team that worked on the assignment, or raise an opportunity for you to
Mm-hmm.
join a team and take on a new assignment. So, relationships are absolutely the key to success, and not just on a surface, and not just based
Mm-hmm.
on being cool, or just, okay, we sisters, we sit. Like, everybody has to earn their place,
Right. Right. Right.
and I think that that's important. Don't just assume or take relationships for granted, especially not based on common traits,
Right.
where very often people lean on that, in a way that, at the same time, may not be, everybody may not, that may not be everybody's thing, right?
Right. Right.
It's,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
assume positive intent. I assume, you part of the family till you prove otherwise.
Right. Right.
But that's not even how everybody else thinks.
Yeah.
So it's never too late to reach out to people. It's never too late to share an article, to, let them know, people know that you're thinking about them, or what you're working on, or you need advice, or whatever those things are. You'd like to think that how you connect with people is not contrived, but it can
Right.
be a systematic approach.
Right. Right. Yeah, I so appreciate you saying that you have to have strategy in it and that it needs to be based on relationship. And so if you value that person and you know that they speak for you or are willing to speak on your behalf, then you want to reach out. It doesn't matter if you haven't spoken to them, in a few months. Now you should have been in conversation, but life be life in. And so it is a possibility that you haven't checked in. Go ahead and check in. That's what I hear you saying. And then be strategic. Like, let's check in every month. Let's, let's see if we can catch up. Let's go to lunch, or let's just have a check-in, if
Yeah.
that's going to work. So I appreciate you saying that, because sometimes we get in our own head that, oh, it's been too long and I can't reach out and maybe they're going to feel a certain way. And then you do all this self talk and you talked yourself out of something when it was easy as picking up the phone and just be like, hey, I have a question. What do you think
Right.
about this? That kind of thing. Yeah.
And you know what? I love that you said that, Davia, because also, here's the thing. I actually respect when people reach out and they're also direct on why they're reaching out.
Yes.
Even if we haven't talked in a while, like, be transparent,
Right.
be honest. I know we haven't talked for a while, but, I immediately thought of you and knew you would have an answer to the question, or you might be able to help me, or you might,
That's it.
the people that talk around and try to act like they're just calling you for no reason, and then act like they had some revelation on,
Right.
oh, you know what? You can help me with this. Oh my
right.
gosh, I didn't even think of this
Right.
before I
Right.
called
Right.
you. You know, that's when it
Cut that.
becomes disingenuous, right?
Right.
So
Right.
so I think it's very fair to be, honest and transparent.
Uh huh.
And again, if there's real substantive relationship, even if
Mm.
it's been months since you spoke, and the
Right.
relationship is maintained, to your point, life be life in. I don't expect to hear from people,
Right.
daily, weekly, or even monthly,
Right.
you know, but I also don't expect, years to go by and everything, and I'm not a second thought until you need something.
Right, right. I think that's really important. Make sure you stay connected, or be honest about what you are calling for. Be transparent. I love that. Like, don't go around the edges. hit them straight. Now that's honestly very different. I think in education, there's always some resource. There's always a workshop. There's always a reason why you could be calling, but it may not be straight like, did you hear what's going on? Do you know
Right.
anything about? Can you help me make sense of this? Like, it's a different, it's just a different world, but I think the seminal pieces are the same, right? Relationship is at the core, trust is at the core, honest communication is at the core, and that's important. I'm gonna just reach out to say, I want to show hello, buenas noches from Panama. Hey,
Ah,
Dr. Crystal, how are you? Okay, and wait, and she said something else. In my industry, I found that those other people were very intentional and direct when approaching me for anything they needed or want. But my students of color were very reluctant. Listen,
mhm.
super reluctant. That's not in us. That's not
Yeah.
how we show up. We show up humble, imposter syndrome, always thinking that we shouldn't ask, don't do any of that. Just kind of wait and be quiet. And so yeah, I
We
think
don't
it's
feel the same sense of entitlement.
no,
Um,
no, we
and
don't.
some of us don't think we deserve the help,
Uh,
and or some of us think that if we ask for help, it will be seen as a vulnerability.
uh,
You have to make yourself vulnerable to
right,
ask for help.
right,
And if there's mistrust in that relationship, showing vulnerability
right.
seems like a big risk. And or if we ask for help or ask a question, some people think will be perceived as less than, like, oh,
Yes,
we should know this or what,
yes,
and the fact is that, everybody asks for help, everybody needs
yes,
help, nobody does it alone, and most
yes.
people have had help from day one. And even the fact that we're in the building, in the classroom,
Okay.
and typically with very few people to help us get wherever we are,
Yep.
we're just not used to even having people to ask for help or people in positions that can help us.
That's
Very
true.
often, we're the ones that can provide the only help that's out there.
That's true.
So, we've got to get over that
Yeah.
because our competition is asking for and getting help
Yes.
every step of the way.
Yeah. 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 That is so true, and it's hard. I think about even my daughter, and she is not one. I'm surprised she's not in the Zoom room today. I mean, not in the ECAN room today, because she's usually all up in here. But will not ask. Did you ask? Did you ask the professor? No. Well, how are you supposed to figure it out? Won't even really take the answer from me. You're not my professor. I'm like, you're not asking that person. And I'm trying to give you the no, no. I said, you're not. How are you supposed to know this? We don't just come know.
Mhm.
And then she'll say things like, oh, well, everybody else seems to know. They just seem to know. But you know why they know? Because they're asking.
They
That's
ask the
why they
question.
know. They ask the question. It's a real strange thing. Thank you, Marissa. You're right. We're taught not to deny our needs,
Mm-hmm.
100%. And
Yeah,
that,
or we're not worthy, or we
oh,
just
we're
got to
not
do with
worthy.
what we got. We should be
Yeah.
grateful for whatever little piece we got, and we shouldn't expect to have any more. Actually, I'll tell one story
Yeah.
that that goes into, the education space. I went through my entire undergraduate career without having ever done a group project or had a study group, to work with. I didn't realize that groups of students got together and studied together
You are kidding.
until I was in at Columbia Graduate School of Business. And
That's
I
crazy.
just always thought I had to do it on my own. I never was introduced to the concept of study groups. I was very often the only in the classroom. I was an
Right.
economics and finance, major. Nobody invited me, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so I didn't know. So the information sharing and
Yes.
and the facilitation of knowledge
Yes.
circles and
Yes.
support,
Yes.
um, it's out there, and everybody else is taking advantage of it. And very often we haven't even been invited, and we don't realize how much it's a utilized resource to even
Yes.
create our own circles.
Yeah. That is so powerful. And Marissa said, me too. Wow. Thank you for sharing this. I did my whole finance program by myself. That is
Mhm.
bonkers to me to think.
Mhm.
And again, it could be we just aren't told. It also could be the environments that we were in was so competitive that we just didn't realize that we were supposed to be doing that. Um, I don't know any other way but to do, like, we teach, you know, we teach that. We teach cooperative learning and interdependence and the importance of being able to, like, my cog, your cog, the next cog, that's what makes this machine move versus my one cog just going, going, going. Oh, forget it. Forget it. That has to be some business math, finance, craziness.
Mhm.
So no. I don't even know if I would be able to have gotten out of college if I couldn't do some group work. I really don't know. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's what made my doctoral project program so much better because it was a cohort model. And yes, the dissertation, you are on your own. That journey is
Mhm.
yours alone. But the learning together, really, we actually, it was my first time having an executive coach. I'd never had an executive coach, but we were assigned an executive coach for about a year of our program. And it was fascinating because this is somebody who went through the process in our program. Um, and you could call on them and lean on them. And I didn't even know what to do. Like, I would come with an agenda prepared. Like, I was like, I don't know what to do with this person. I come with the agenda. I have my questions. And he was like, it doesn't have to be so formal, Davia. And I was like, I don't know. I've never had an executive coach. I don't even know what I'm supposed to,
Mhm.
like, what's supposed to happen in this like
Yeah.
situation. So
I
that's what
love
sponsorship
special.
feels.
I'm so glad that you brought up executive coaching. Because
Yeah.
again, most people think executive coaches are for people who have some deficiency or are failing
Right.
in their role or,
Right.
need help, right?
Right.
Remedial coaching,
Right.
when really it's about accelerating high performance. So
Mm.
I actually have
All
an
right.
executive coach, um, and um, and it he has been so helpful in
Mm.
helping me accelerate my performance. And I purposely picked somebody that was different from how I identify
Really?
because I felt like, I know my perspective. I know, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I know how I think, how I approach things, and how I identify and see myself and people like me. But I
Mm-hmm.
felt like this is somebody who could help me see how other people see me, how
Mm.
other people think and approach people in my position and coach people in my position and what would they say, or
Mm.
how they would receive me or
Mm-hmm.
perceive
Right,
me
right, right,
and
right.
everything else. And so that's been extremely valuable. And again, someone who, you can speak to confidentially and get
Yes.
feedback and is also authorized to solicit feedback,
Mm-hmm.
from your coworkers and
Okay.
as well as your manager,
Okay.
and help you think about that feedback
Mm.
and employ it to again accelerate your performance and meet all the expectations of
Right.
all your various stakeholders. And when you have multiple key stakeholders across a large global organization, everybody's
Right.
looking for something different, right? So how
Right.
you calibrate that and how you meet the needs of your people, it's really important. So
Wow.
so I encourage executive coaching. A lot of companies, excuse me, will actually, pay for it, so it's worth
Right.
asking. But even if they don't, it's an investment in you. Folks are walking around with, Gucci bags and Louboutin shoes. You know what? Invest it in something really that's going to have a return on the investment for you in your career, and that's getting a
Wow.
coach.
That's amazing. Yeah, I I really leaned into that relationship, continue to stay connected. You know, it was a year and he was very much like, reach out if you need anything, let me know how you're doing. You know, I invited him to the actual dissertation, presentation and the defense. And, it was, it's been great. But I also wondered, would it have been different um, if he was a black man as opposed to a white man. And I still felt like he gave me real honest feedback. But it's interesting to hear you say you wanted the perspective from someone outside of who you identify as. But
Mhm.
and I was very happy with the person I had, but also wondered in my head, oh, I wonder what it would have been like to have, because I have two mentors who are both women, but both different.
Mhm.
One Black Caribbean and one white woman who have been in my life for over 30 years, kind of like
Mhm.
being in my space and giving being in my ear. And they give me different advice, which is also very interesting. One feels very much mothering, and one is very much like, this is how the world will see you. And so that helps me. She's like, you have to show up like
Mhm.
this. And I'm like, I do? Like, yes, because Dr. Davia, they're going to expect this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So she gives me insight that my Caribbean mentor does not give me, because she sees me, I think, more as like, darling, my niece, more family like now, but
Mhm.
still very much career oriented. Like, no, go after that, or you can do that, or I need you to be on this board. So she puts things in my path that I would not have thought about. And then my other person will say to me, no, no, you have to ask for this. This is what you deserve at this point. You don't need to be messing around. And so it's just interesting to see how they both mentor me, even now,
Yeah.
as a full professional, so to speak. Really interesting.
You're never too successful to have mentors. And
Oh,
even, what you need from mentors can evolve. And even as the arc of your career shifts from, from different levels of your career and different
yes.
aspects of being a professional, there are different people that can give you the counsel that you need. So, when I was an investment
Yeah.
banker, I had a lot of, mentors that were in the business. When I moved
Yeah.
into human resources, I realized
Right.
that I had no human resource professionals as
Right.
part of, my personal board of directors. So
Right.
that's when I had to expand on that and include people who could give me counsel as a
Right.
senior human resources executive, right? So,
Yeah.
how you operate in the business and as a frontline revenue generating professional, and how you can talk to people, or how your performance is measured, all
Right.
those things are different. So I
Right.
had to learn the ropes when I moved into HR, and
Right.
that was really valuable. So, you can continue to add to your board, and you don't have
Yeah.
to drop people either, and you
Yeah.
want the diverse perspectives of people of different backgrounds at different levels that have different career paths, because then you really can have a bunch of different data points, factors
Right.
to consider, and then you
Right.
process it, and you come out where you come out in terms of making the right decision for you.
Right. Right. I love that. Can you talk more about this board? I hear you talking about the board that you're creating that supports you. It's your own personal board. That's
Mhm.
how I am making sense of it.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting way of saying all of the people you collect, my folks that I collect, that have in my circle to help me do what I need to
Hmm.
do. Um, Talk more about that. I
Yeah,
love that.
or offline, since we sisters and all, right? Who's in your kitchen cabinet, right?
Uh huh. Uh
You
huh.
know. So yeah, I mean, again, I think as we all, go on our career journeys,
Right.
we all know you need mentors and sponsors, right? Um, but again, I just think about the circle that
Uh
goes
huh.
around you, right? And by the way, all mentors are not necessarily senior to you.
That's
There are
right.
peer
That's
mentors.
right.
Even there are reverse mentors, right? And
Yes.
reverse mentors can be, across generations,
Yep.
that can help give you insight. Could be across, dimensions of how you identify.
Uh
Like
huh.
maybe you want to, have a deeper understanding of the LGBTQ plus community or
Right.
something
Right.
along those lines. So, mentors can be anywhere in that circle around you.
Right. Right.
You also do need, diversity in terms of their backgrounds and their perspectives, and not
Right.
just backgrounds in terms of how they identify, but also
Right.
what do they do? How do they approach problem solving?
Right.
You know, um, how resourceful, or how do they get resources? How do
Right.
they perceive the world? From what industry are they looking in, on what you do? And so all of those things matter. And then even internally, like, I think about the people who can give me, like, when I think about my role and what's important, like, well, who
Right.
can help me with strategy? Who can help
Right.
me with these things, right? and how do I round out, that group as well. And then I mentioned this a little earlier, but I think it's so important, so I'll mention it again. Who are the people, who are your friends, who actually know you? So when you go back to them and tell them about this situation, and you have your made for TV version on how you dealt with the situation, and they call you out,
Right.
right?
Right.
Say, are you sure that's how you responded? Or did
Right.
you do,
Or
whatever,
did
because
you?
they know
Right.
you that well, right?
Right.
Or challenge, say, well, how you are. Like you say, well, I didn't even say it like that.
Right. Yeah, you
Just
did.
have them
Because I
look
know
at
you.
you.
Because I know
Right,
you. And I know exactly how
right.
you said it. That's not
Yeah,
how you should have
yeah,
said it, but I know what you said.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
people that can speak truth to your power, right? So I think
That's
that's very important.
Yeah, and that, you know what, that's with a job, that's on your way to retirement, that's whatever life is bringing you, having a diverse group of folks who you can call on, who can call you on your stuff, and
Hmm.
also be there to offer you guidance and support and challenge you to
Yeah.
say, nah, not like that, man. That's not
Yeah.
going to work for you. Yeah, it's
Yeah, but
important.
let's be clear. My very first mentor was a Black woman who did everything that I needed to acclimate to a completely different world for which I had never experienced, including
Yeah.
giving me some clothes out her closet. Because even, how you dressed,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
What you wore mattered, right?
Yeah.
Especially working, in investment banking. So, and some of the things that were just so personal and personalized. If
Yes.
I didn't have her, especially early in my career, I don't know. We would not be on this podcast today.
Listen, I totally appreciate you saying that because in my research, I did find that with superintendents, I was studying women of color superintendents, but if they had a woman and if they had someone that they identified in some way, gender, race, in some identity, they were able to feel like they were able to grow in their career at a much higher rate and felt very much protected and cared for and supported to be able to be at the best of their ability. And
Mhm.
out of 15 women, 14 women were like, yeah, no, it mattered. Um, Gender and or race or whatever the identity marker was that you were leaning into that mattered, it mattered for them to hit where they wanted to be. So not that they had to have it, but because they did have it, it made a difference in their career trajectory. And so that
Yeah,
was
and I mean,
fascinating.
sort of where my brain went when you said that. I'm gonna tie that also to like psychological safety,
That's
right?
it.
And how does one draw
That's it.
out psychological safety?
That's it.
Psychological safety is so important
That's
in
it.
all things.
Yes.
And some of those elements of trust,
Yes.
safety,
Yes. Yes.
um, that can come out of those commonalities, I think provides the psychological safety that you need, and
Yes.
frankly, the permission to be your authentic self,
That's
so that
it.
instead of worrying about everything that's a distraction,
Right. Right.
you're focused on what you have to do and what you can accomplish. And you
Yes.
actually believe, with that psychological safety, that
That
these
you.
are people that believe you can do it. And if
Yep.
they believe you can do it, then you believe you
Then
can
you
do
believe you can do it. And that's
it.
it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
on point. That is that's textbook. I would say that if you are in a true formal mentoring relationship, the psychological safety must be there and the career
Mhm.
like guidance, the career growth that that person is like, yo, pushing and you're like, yeah, I can do that. It's like, yes, of course, go for it. And you believe it. And because you believe it, you
Mhm.
start to achieve it. And so, yeah, the more we have that in our orb, the better it is for us. Carmen
Yeah.
said, having
Perception is reality.
yeah, yeah.
Perception.
No, wait, no, go ahead. Well, let me see. Can you read that? Having people who aren't
Having people who aren't afraid to call you
you on
on your
your
stuff.
stuff.
Sorry.
Uh, is
is
important to personal
important to
growth.
personal growth and development. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, you know what I was going to say though, like with perception being reality,
Yeah,
when, somebody tells you you can do something, you believe you can do something.
that's it.
Just like actually you mentioned earlier, imposter syndrome. I think that that is something that people came up with to make us feel insecure, to make us
Mm.
less ambitious, to make us feel like,
Ooh.
we should not
Ooh.
be at that table. Matter of fact, sit at that
Mm.
chair in the back row behind the conference table, even though there's a seat at the table. So I don't believe in imposter syndrome. I think it's just made up to mess with our minds and to have
Listen.
us perform at a lower level than everybody else because we're so
Ooh.
busy sitting there thinking we imposters.
Man, is that a preacher moment? Was that? I'm sorry. Was that Deaconess? Deaconess, where, are you in the house? Okay, just drop all mics and let's be done. You sound like Nick Franklin. He was like, I don't believe in anxiety. I don't believe in this. I said, no, there is that. He goes, it's made up stuff that they put on us and we keep fighting. And I was like, okay. But I think, listen, there is always some truth to it. And somehow or another, once you name something for someone, then all of a sudden that is the thing that you are all into,
Mm-hmm.
right? That, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I have that thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you have that thing, or did somebody tell you you had that thing, and now all of a sudden you have that thing? It's a
Yeah.
situation. Yes, yes, someone is definitely agreeing. There's a yes right there. Um, so I want to ask you, because we're gonna wind down. Let me. I have so many things I wanted to ask. Um, we're gonna do these quick rapid fire ones.
Oh Lord.
Oh yes. What's your favorite? What's your current way to unplug and reset after a long day? If you weren't stuck having to be here with me.
Well, the thing I'm itching to get, which is my glass of red wine, and I am a subscriber to Brown Estates, which is a
Which is a
black-owned
black
vineyard.
owned, yes.
Yes.
Where's my brown? Is it
So
over here?
is it there? Yeah, exactly. Oh, Chaos Theory. I love Chaos Theory. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yes, so but
yeah.
I'm not drinking today.
Yes. Well, I will be. I do like the glass of wine. I do, there
Good.
are times I just plop on the couch and, turn on the TV. Yeah,
Yes.
I do like Chicago Wednesdays. So,
Okay. So
I
you do
love
the
y'all
whole.
because because Chicago Wednesdays is on. So, yeah, but yeah, I love that glass of wine. The
Good.
mornings I gotta work out. The evenings I have my glass of wine.
Yes. Let's see what Tracy says. Yes, the person who holds you accountable while at the same time demonstrating that they are deeply vested in your success is key. Yes, your personal
Yes.
circle of advisors. Okay, wonderful.
Hmm.
Okay, all right. Um, Coffee, tea, or something sparkling?
Coffee.
Coffee. Shocked by that. Okay.
I drink at least 3 cups of coffee a day. Black.
With nothing in it?
Maybe a little like sugar-free vanilla syrup or
A
something
little
like that,
bit.
but black, yeah. Black
Wow.
coffee.
Okay. Okay.
Strong black
Strong and
coffee.
black. We'll leave it at that. I like it strong
I
and black. We'll leave it at that.
know.
Um. All right. What's a song or an artist that gets you right in the mood and gets you in your zone?
What's funny? I really have been listening to the artist Her. I just love her. And I
Okay.
just
Do
like,
you?
I know. It's so funny because I'm like, I love
I
her,
love her. I
Folks like
love it.
who? I'm like her.
Her. I love her.
I just like her like where she's at, the
Uh
honesty,
huh.
it's actually calming.
Uh huh.
Um, it's I just she just speaks to me,
Okay.
and she just seems just really honest and
Uh huh.
so yeah, so I like if I'm just listening to music chilling and it's just, I just like to listen to her.
Okay, I love it. All right, if you actually got a full day, free self care, zero responsibility day, what would that look like? You have nothing to do, taking no basketball. Nobody's going to basketball. Nobody's going anywhere. It's you. It's your day, your own full day. What are you doing?
I don't even know. I don't even know. I can't even quite
Um,
fathom that yet, you know. I mean, there's always like, yeah, I love the spa like everybody else. I actually, you know what I probably do? Okay.
Go ahead, say it.
Honestly, I probably would stay in bed
Yeah,
and like hopefully find like a Law and Order like marathon or
and just
something.
watch it all day.
And just watch like Law and Order all day, maybe have some brown estates,
Yep, yep.
but I probably would do something like that. I actually wouldn't do anything too, strenuous or out there,
Uh
something
huh.
relaxing.
Uh huh.
Um, something restful, not too challenging. I mean, I love the outdoors. Maybe go for a
Right.
hike
Maybe
or,
go for a hike. Okay.
something very simple, very, very simple, like a
Okay.
whole lot of nothing.
Oh, listen, a whole lot of nothing is fair.
Hmm.
If there was one word um, that you wanted to embody the rest of this year in all of the chaos that's going on, what is the word that you would lean into for yourself for this year?
Hmm. That's a good one. I think I think the word would be hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I just I remain hopeful that we continue to move forward, that I continue to do the important work that I do, and that I'm able to, or maybe impactful. I'm hopeful that I'm
Mm.
impactful.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, yeah, the one word, that I'm impactful, that I remain optimistic. Like I am an optimist.
I am an optimist.
And I always have been, and I pray I always will be. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I want to stay optimistic. I want to, stay hopeful. I want to be
Mm-hmm.
impactful. I
Mm-hmm.
want to continue to be an agent of change and manage through this period of change. And, I mean, this is a time to innovate, right? And take
Yes.
action and just do things differently.
Yeah.
And out of change comes innovation. So,
Absolutely.
and that to me is the silver lining. Maybe there will be something to do that we have not done before,
How about
right?
that?
Because we had to change.
How about that?
So that's how I'm thinking about this year.
I love that. I love that for you. And maybe you give yourself a little bit of a break because it'll be okay. It'll all be okay, regardless of how everything is in the world. I think if nothing else, I have allowed myself this year to say, I'm going to be the best that I can be for myself, my friends, and my family. And I'm not going to beat myself up when all hell is breaking loose because I can only do what I can do, and I can only be as much as I can be for myself and my family. I can't keep offering 200% when other people are showing up at 10 and
Yeah.
still getting ahead. Showing up at 10 and I'm showing up at 200. Come on, man. We not that's not okay. So, it is what it is. We ain't gonna go there.
It
We ain't
is
gonna go.
right. I was
We ain't
gonna
gonna go
say
there. We ain't gonna go there. I'm not. No
that'll be the
comment.
next that'll be
That'll
the
be the
next episode.
that'll be the next conversation for sure. But I just want to say thank you for showing up. Thank you for being your authentic self. Thank you for continuing to build a support system to all of those folks in corporate who kind of come through and you always speak their name whenever you have an opportunity. I love how you show up for your sisters in so many ways. And so I appreciate you and thank you for being here. And I just want to
Well,
say
thank you
cheers.
for inviting me. And,
Cheers.
I love my sisters, and more importantly, I love you, Spesh. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Um, for anybody who appreciated this and think that you know somebody who could absolutely benefit from this conversation, share this link. I am trying to get to 200 subscribers. I'm about 20 some odd people away from that. And then when I get to 200, I'm going to be looking to get to 300. So just let's get to the 200 and then we'll worry about the next step. So thank you. I just want to bring in these two. Carmen said, thank you so much. We love Coach Erika. Absolutely. And Tracy, fantastic.
Oh,
Yes, definitely. I will see you all. Have a good week. And remember not to do all the things. Okay? Not at all. All right. Take care. Bye.
bye.
Bye.